Alien scientists dismiss human ruins until the lights came on. The planet Telvax 9 had always been a quiet place, nestled at the edge of the Cygnus constellation. Its inhabitants, a race of highly intelligent beings known as the Zyrathians, had studied the stars for millennia, observing countless civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. They prided themselves on their scientific objectivity, their meticulous approach to understanding the universe. For years, they had been aware of a fledgling species on a small, blue planet called Earth. From the safety of their space observatories, they watched as the humans scurried about, building primitive structures and engaging in strange, violent behaviors. The Zyrathians were content to observe from a distance, dismissing humanity as little more than a passing curiosity, a species too young and disorganized to warrant serious attention. Then, one day, a team of Zyrathian scientists received an unexpected transmission from Earth, something that appeared to be a signal emanating from an ancient human city. Intrigued by the possibility of finding artifacts or remnants of their once great civilization, the scientists made the decision to investigate. The ruins they discovered were vast, towering structures of stone and metal, some of them half collapsed, others still standing, albeit in a state of decay. It was a sight not unfamiliar to the Zyrathians. They had seen similar remains across countless planets. The cities were obviously long abandoned, their former inhabitants lost to time. They were a primitive species, said Drive Calix, the lead researcher, scanning a holographic map of the ruins. Their technology was rudimentary, and their society fragmented. These are nothing more than the remnants of a failed civilization. The other scientists nodded in agreement. They had seen this type of thing before, a species that once believed itself to be on the brink of greatness, only to fall short and disappear into the void. Nothing to see here, they thought, just another dead end. The team set up their equipment, scanning the ruins for any sign of interest, artifact remnants, energy readings, or unusual electromagnetic signatures. But after hours of scanning, the results were mostly inconclusive. Their instruments detected only faint traces of energy, the sort left behind by machinery that had long since shut down. At dusk, the scientists decided to call it a day. They were about to pack up and return to their ship when something strange happened. A flicker in the distance, barely noticeable at first, began to grow. A soft hum filled the air, and a strange glow emanated from the heart of the ruins, where an old, crumbling building stood. "What's that?" Drive Calix asked, eyes widening. The light pulsed again, brighter this time. The ground beneath them trembled as a low rumble echoed through the ruins. One by one, the scientists turned to each other in disbelief. They had thought these ruins dead, inert, but something was waking up. The buildings began to glow, one after another. Windows once shattered now shimmered with light, and abandoned streets illuminated as if someone had turned on an unseen switch. The air buzzed with a strange energy, one that felt alive in a way they had never expected. "It's impossible," murmured Drive Zev, a scientist who had studied energy patterns for decades. "These structures haven't been powered for centuries." But the evidence was undeniable. The ruins were coming back to life. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the city, the lights grew brighter, and the hum grew louder. The strange energy in the air intensified, and soon, the Zyrathians were standing before a massive structure, the source of the power surge. It was a building like no other they had seen. It appeared to be made of a material that shimmered like glass but pulsated with a strange, organic quality. The walls moved, shifting as if they were alive, and within the center of the building, a giant, glowing sphere hovered in midair, radiating power. Drive Calix stepped forward, compelled by a force they couldn't yet understand. As they approached, the sphere flickered, and then, without warning, the entire structure hummed to life, sending a shockwave of energy through the city. The Zyrathians stumbled back, eyes wide in awe. And then, the most incredible thing happened. A voice echoed through the city, a human voice, distorted but clear, saying, "We are not gone, we are waiting." The scientists exchanged nervous glances. The message was unmistakable. Someone, or something, had been waiting for their arrival. "Is this a warning?" Drive Zev asked, his voice trembling. Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath their feet began to shake violently. The sphere in the center of the building flickered again, sending another surge of energy that caused the city to tremble. A strange, mechanical sound echoed through the ruins as if something was awakening. The team of Zyrathian scientists quickly retreated, realizing that they had underestimated the humans. Again, These ruins were not mere relics of a failed civilization. They were part of something much larger, something still alive, waiting to reveal its secrets. As they made their way back to their ship, the lights in the city flickered one last time, casting an eerie glow across the desolate landscape. The humans, it seemed, had not been forgotten, the ruins had not been abandoned, and whatever had been left behind was still waiting for something, or someone, to understand. And as the Zyrathians looked back at the city, they realized the truth they had so easily dismissed. The human species was not gone, not by a long shot. The ruins were not a symbol of failure, they were the beginning of something much greater, something that was just beginning to awaken. The lights had come on, and the universe would never be the same. The Zyrathian scientists huddled in the darkened control room of their ship, still processing the extraordinary events they had witnessed on Earth. The hum of the engines, the usual comforting background noise of their spacecraft, seemed to amplify the quiet tension that hung in the air. Drive. Calyx sat at the command terminal, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through the data collected from their brief stay on Earth. The readings were unlike anything they had encountered before. The energy signature from the awakened ruins was not just powerful, it was intricate, almost intelligent. It felt alive, as if the structures themselves were responding to something. It's as though the city is a sentient organism. Drive, Zev murmured, pacing behind her. The energy patterns don't match anything from our archives. These humans, their technology, it's not primitive at all. It's advanced beyond our comprehension. We've missed something. I can feel it, Calyx said, her voice quiet but insistent. This is no ordinary relic. It's more than just technology. There's a consciousness here, one that's been dormant, waiting for the right moment. What do we do now? Asked Drive. Jalen, another member of the team, his voice tinged with both excitement and fear. If this, whatever it is, was hidden for so long, what will happen if it wakes up completely? Dr. Calyx turned to face him. We need to go back. We need to learn more. There's something crucial buried beneath the surface of those ruins. The humans, those who built this city, knew something we don't. We cannot afford to let it slip through our fingers. The team exchanged uneasy glances. None of them had expected to be drawn back into the mystery so soon. They had assumed that Earth was nothing more than a dead-end project. But now, they faced the distinct feeling that their observations had been far too hasty. The lights had come on, and with it, something profound had stirred. The next day, they returned to the ruins, this time with a renewed sense of urgency. The once dormant city now pulsed with life, the air thick with a strange, humming vibration that seemed to come from the very earth itself. They landed their ship near the glowing structure where the mysterious sphere had appeared. As they approached, the city's streets were no longer eerily silent. A low, rhythmic droning filled the air, a symphony of mechanical sounds and faint whispers. The Zyrathian scanners had trouble distinguishing between the ambient noise and the actual signals from the structures, as if the city itself were alive, conscious of their presence. The building where the sphere had hovered was even more magnificent up close. Now, every surface of the building shimmered with light, like a vast, interconnected neural network. Wires and glowing veins, made of an alien material, stretched across the walls like living tendrils. The sphere, once a pulsing orb of energy, had now grown larger, its surface translucent, revealing complex patterns swirling inside. The Zyrathians could see faint silhouettes moving within it, though they could not identify what they were. It's waiting, Drive, Calyx whispered, as if speaking to herself. But waiting for what? Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath their feet shuddered. A deep, resonant voice, this time much clearer than the distorted human message from before, echoed through the city. Return what was taken, complete the cycle. The voice, unmistakably artificial yet imbued with a strange, resonant emotion, reverberated through their minds. They froze, feeling a sudden wave of dread wash over them. What does that mean, Drive? Zev asked, his voice strained. The cycle, Calyx muttered, piecing the fragments together. There's a pattern, a connection between these structures and the sphere. The humans, whoever built this, had a purpose. They left something behind, something critical. The voice spoke again, softer this time, almost mournful. Return what was taken. Calyx's eyes widened. It's not just technology, this is a message, a plea for something to be returned. But what? What was taken? Dr. Jalen, the youngest and most daring of the team, moved closer to the center of the building. The glowing sphere seemed to beckon him, pulling at his curiosity. Could it be an artifact, a key or a power source of some kind? Without thinking, he reached out toward the sphere. The instant his fingers brushed against it, a surge of energy shot through his body, sending him stumbling backward. He gasped, clutching his chest as if something had pierced through him. The humans scattered, but the figure advanced, its form shifting with unnatural speed. One by one, the humans fell to the ground, their glowing crystals pulled from their hands. The hologram shifted again. The shadowy figure turned and walked toward a doorway. The crystals, glowing brighter than ever, were left behind, but the final scene was different. The humans were gone, the crystals were scattered, and the figure stood alone, holding something in its hands. Suddenly, the hologram cut to black. Dr. Calix's breath caught in her throat. The crystals, she said, her voice trembling, they weren't just artifacts, they were the key, and they were taken by something, or someone else. The room fell silent. The words from the voice echoed once more in their minds. Return what was taken. The realization struck them all at once. The key to unlocking the mystery of the ruins was hidden somewhere on Earth, and they would need to find it, before the unknown force that had taken it found them first. In that moment, the Zyrathian scientists understood. The lights had come on, the city had awakened, and now, they were part of something much larger than themselves, something that had been set in motion long before they arrived. But they were not the only ones searching for answers, and time was running out. The discovery of the crystals sent a ripple of urgency through the Zyrathian team. They had underestimated humanity. Again, what they had initially thought were just relics of a failed civilization had now turned into a dangerous puzzle, one that seemed to involve much more than just ancient technology. It was a matter of life and death, not just for the humans or the Zyrathians, but for the entire galaxy. We need to find those crystals, Drive, Calix said, her voice sharp with determination. We don't understand what they are, but they're linked to everything that's happening here. They might be the key to stopping whatever force took them. Drive, Zev nodded, his eyes still wide with disbelief. The humans who once lived here, they must have known the consequences of separating those crystals. The hologram made it clear, whatever took them. It wasn't just a thief, it was a predator. But who, or what, is it? Drive, Jalen asked, his voice echoing the same question they all had been asking themselves. Why did it come here? I don't know, Calix replied, but we'll need to search the human world for any trace of these crystals. Their technology might have been primitive compared to ours, but it was incredibly resourceful. They might have hidden them. The decision was made quickly. They would return to Earth immediately. This time, they wouldn't be just observers, they would be active participants in a race against an unknown enemy. The city, once dormant, had stirred something ancient and powerful, but what that power truly was remained unclear. The Zyrathians landed their ship near the remnants of a human city, one that appeared to be completely abandoned, but there was an underlying feeling that something was still very much alive here, something that had been waiting. As the team disembarked, they moved through the eerie streets with purpose, scanning for any signs of the crystals, any anomaly that might lead them to the objects that held the power to change everything. The ruined city seemed even more desolate in daylight. Buildings, half fallen, stood like broken teeth in a decayed mouth. Windows were shattered, streets cracked and crumbled under centuries of neglect. But as the scientists walked through the silent thoroughfares, the faint hum from the ruins, now so familiar to them, followed them. We've got to be close, Drive, Zev said, squinting as he studied the readings on his handheld device. The energy signatures are converging right here, at this intersection. The team stopped in front of what appeared to be an ancient building, its architecture crude yet imposing. The faded carvings on the stone walls depicted human figures, but there were symbols scattered among them, symbols that were unlike anything the Zyrathians had ever seen. They were intricate, almost geometrical, but there was something strange about their design, like they had been made to communicate something more than just art. This must be where they stored the crystals, Drive, Calix said, approaching the entrance. But why leave them here? Why not take them when they fled? She stepped forward, her hand resting on the door. It was surprisingly warm to the touch, as though it had been waiting for something. The instant her fingers made contact, a soft, resonating tone echoed through the air, and the door slid open with an eerie mechanical hiss. Inside, the room was dimly lit, but the faint glow of something, almost alive, filled the space. The walls shimmered, coated in a strange, organic material that reminded Calix of the living structures they had seen in the ruins, and in the center of the room, Resting on a pedestal were several crystalline objects, glowing faintly, their shapes unnatural and intricate. "They're here, Drive," Jalen whispered, awestruck. The crystals pulsed softly, and the air in the room seemed to hum with an unspoken energy. The team moved closer, but as they did, the room's temperature dropped, and the shadows around them seemed to deepen. A voice, low, guttural, and distant, began to whisper from the very walls of the chamber. "The cycle must be completed." The Zyrathians exchanged nervous glances. The voice sounded almost alien, but there was something familiar about it. It was the same voice they had heard in the ruins. "Who is speaking, Drive?" Zev asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What is this?" The voice replied, its tone filled with a quiet menace. "I am the guardian of the cycle. The crystals must be returned to their place. The time has come." Before anyone could respond, the door slammed shut, sealing them inside the chamber. The glow from the crystals intensified, casting long shadows across the walls. The ground trembled, and a low rumble echoed in the distance. Calyx turned toward the team, her heart racing. "We're not alone." Suddenly, from the darkness beyond the chamber, a figure emerged. It was tall, humanoid, but its features were shrouded in shadow. It moved with unnatural speed, its outline flickering as though it didn't belong to this world. The figure spoke again, its voice now unmistakably harsh, filled with an ancient, bitter hatred. "You do not understand. The crystals must return. You are too late." The Zyrathians backed away, their weapons at the ready, but they knew deep down that their technology wouldn't be enough to deal with this thing. It wasn't just a creature, it was something older, something that had been watching, waiting, and now, it had awakened. Calyx tightened her grip on her weapon but remained focused. "What are you?" she demanded. "Why did you take the crystals?" The figure didn't answer right away. Instead, it reached out, and the room darkened even further, as though it were drawing the light into itself. "I was the one who was taken. The crystals are the only way to restore balance. They must be placed where they belong, or everything will fall." The figure's words sent a chill through Calyx. The crystals weren't just the key to unlocking the secrets of the past, they were the key to preventing something much worse, something the Zyrathians had never even considered. As the figure advanced, its form growing clearer, they could see its features, distorted, unnatural. It wasn't human, it wasn't even a creature of flesh, it was something far older, a remnant of a civilization that had died long ago, and it had been waiting for the crystals to be returned. The voice filled the chamber once more, louder this time. "Return what was taken, or the cycle will end." The Zyrathian team realized that their quest for knowledge had just become a fight for survival. The Zyrathian scientists stood frozen, their hearts racing in unison with the escalating tremors of the room. The figure, no longer just a shadow but a looming, otherworldly entity, advanced toward them with terrifying calm. Its movements were unnaturally fluid, as though it wasn't bound by the same laws of physics that govern the Zyrathians and the humans. Calyx's mind raced, the creature's words echoed in her thoughts like a chilling refrain. "Return what was taken, or the cycle will end." It wasn't just a warning, it was a prophecy, a dire ultimatum. "What does it mean by the cycle, Drive?" Zev asked, his voice tight with fear. "And what does it want with the crystals?" The figure's glowing eyes flickered briefly, as if considering the question. "The cycle is the foundation of existence. A balance was disturbed when the crystals were taken. They are part of something much larger than you can comprehend. You cannot stop it, you cannot undo what has been done." The air in the room grew thicker, the temperature dropping even further. Calyx could feel the chill in her bones, but it was the presence of the figure, that unsettling aura of predestination, that froze her in place. It was not a creature of malice, not in the traditional sense. It was something more abstract, more cosmic, something that existed outside of time and space. Its very existence was a paradox, one that seemed as much a part of the universe as the laws of physics themselves. "Why did you need the crystals?" Calyx demanded, finding her voice despite the terror creeping up her spine. "What happened when they were taken?" The creature's eyes narrowed, the answer coming in a whisper, though the room was silent. The humans did not know what they had. "The crystals are keys to the gate, a gate that binds time and space together. They were stolen from the place where they were meant to remain. I was the guardian, the one who kept them safe, but they were taken. And now I must return them, or the fabric of existence will tear." A wave of realization swept over Calyx. This wasn't just a story of a long-dead species, of ruined cities and forgotten technology. This was something much deeper, a cosmic event that had rippled through the very foundation of reality. The crystals were not just artifacts, they were the cornerstone of an ancient mechanism that bound the universe itself. Their removal had not only disturbed the balance of this lost civilization but had threatened the entire fabric of time and space. "We need those crystals," Calyx said, her voice growing firm. "We can help, we can return them, but we need to know where they belong." The figure paused, its hollow gaze locking onto hers. For a long moment, there was silence, and then the voice responded, not with malice, but with a resigned inevitability. "You think you can undo what was done? You cannot, but the crystals must be placed. If you fail, you will understand the cost." As if on cue, the walls of the chamber began to shift, the ground quaked beneath them, and the faint humming sound from the crystals grew louder, their glow intensifying. The room started to transform, the air filled with the echoes of ancient, unintelligible voices, and the crystals, now more than just objects, began to emit an energy that felt almost alive. "We have no choice," Calyx muttered to herself, more to still her nerves than anything else. "We have to try." The figure's form shimmered, flickering like a glitch in the fabric of reality itself. It seemed to dissolve into the air for a moment, only to reappear closer, its presence even more overwhelming. "There is no choice, the gate is closing." A deep rumble vibrated through the walls, the ground shuddering beneath them as the chamber's structure began to twist. The ceiling began to open up, revealing an enormous, star-filled expanse, one that stretched across space and time itself, as though the walls of the room had disappeared entirely. In that moment, Calyx understood, the chamber was not merely a physical space, it was a point of convergence, a nexus between realms, between dimensions. This place, these ruins, were the remnants of an ancient portal, a gateway between worlds, and the crystals were the only means of controlling it. But where were the other crystals? The figure seemed to sense her thoughts. With a flick of its hand, the shadows around the room shifted, revealing more of the crystalline structures, now glowing with an even brighter intensity. They were scattered across the chamber. These weren't the only ones. The crystals they had discovered were just a small fraction of a much larger whole, pieces of an intricate puzzle. "You must find the others," the figure intoned, its voice almost hollow, "before it is too late." Calyx's eyes darted to the others, the urgency in her gaze mirroring the gravity of their situation. They needed to leave, to find the remaining crystals before the balance was completely shattered. But as they turned to head towards the door, another force, a dark, invisible pressure, pressed down on them. The figure's voice resounded once more, louder and more insistent than before. "You cannot run, the cycle is beginning, the gate will open." With a sudden, blinding flash of light, the room was plunged into a void. The walls of the chamber collapsed around them, replaced by an infinite expanse of stars and swirling cosmic energy. The Zyrathian scientists were no longer standing in a room but floating in a space that was neither here nor there, an empty void that stretched across all of existence. "Where are we, Drive?" Zev gasped, his voice filled with terror. Calyx's heart raced as she looked around, trying to comprehend what had just happened. The figure had vanished, but its presence lingered in the air, its words echoing in the vast emptiness. Is this the gate?" Calyx asked, her voice barely a whisper, the enormity of the situation slowly dawning on her. Before anyone could answer, a new sound broke through the silence. A low, pulsating hum began to reverberate in the void, the sound of something ancient, something powerful. The gate was opening, and if they didn't act soon, it wouldn't just be the crystals that were lost, the very universe itself could unravel. "We have to go back," Calyx said, her voice sharp with resolve. "We have to find the rest of the crystals, now." As the stars around them flickered, the Zyrathian team knew that the true test was only beginning, and this time, there would be no second chance.